Why Europe is falling behind in the EV revolution. The electric vehicle, EV, revolution has taken the global automotive industry by storm, with countries like China and the United States racing ahead in production, innovation, and adoption. Yet Europe, once considered a leader in green mobility, is slowly losing its edge. While European nations have ambitious climate goals and a reputation for environmental consciousness, their EV transition is facing mounting challenges. From infrastructure bottlenecks to inconsistent policies and rising competition from foreign automakers, the continent is struggling to maintain momentum. This article explores the key reasons behind Europe's faltering EV progress and the consequences it might face if the trend continues. But before starting the video, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on our upcoming videos. Sluggish charging infrastructure development. One of the most pressing challenges for Europe is the uneven rollout of EV charging stations. Despite a growing number of electric vehicles on the road, many European countries have not matched that pace with public charging infrastructure. Urban centers like Amsterdam or Oslo may have solid coverage, but vast areas across southern and eastern Europe remain underserved. Long-distance travel still poses a logistical problem for EV drivers, especially when fast chargers are few and far between. Moreover, the installation of chargers often involves navigating bureaucratic red tape, making the process slower than in the United States or China, where government-backed efforts are more streamlined. Without widespread, accessible charging networks, consumer confidence in going fully electric remains low. It's not enough to sell EVs. People need to know they can charge them easily and reliably anywhere. China's dominance in EV technology. Europe is also facing fierce competition from China, which has quickly emerged as a global EV superpower. Chinese automakers like BYD, NIO, and XPeng are producing high-quality electric cars at competitive prices, often beating European brands on both affordability and innovation. China has also built a vertically integrated EV supply chain, from lithium mining to battery manufacturing, giving its companies an edge in both cost and speed to market. In contrast, European manufacturers rely heavily on external suppliers and are still catching up in battery technology. While Germany's Volkswagen and Sweden's Volvo have made strides, their progress is being overshadowed by China's rapid expansion. Chinese brands are now entering the European market aggressively, offering vehicles with longer range, better software integration, and lower price points. This growing influence threatens Europe's traditional automotive dominance and could reshape the market entirely if not met with a stronger response. Policy gaps and mixed signals. Europe's policy environment is another factor holding back EV progress. While the European Union has set ambitious goals for emissions reductions and banning internal combustion engines by 2035, the path toward those targets is riddled with inconsistencies. Different countries offer different incentives, subsidies, and tax breaks, some generous, others minimal or non-existent. Consumers are left confused, and manufacturers must navigate a patchwork of regulations across the continent. Meanwhile, some governments are beginning to roll back incentives due to budget pressures, further undermining momentum. For example, Germany recently ended EV subsidies for commercial vehicles, and other nations are reconsidering their financial support programs. These sudden policy shifts create uncertainty for consumers and investors alike. In contrast, China's centrally coordinated EV strategy provides a stable foundation for long-term growth, giving automakers the confidence to invest and innovate at scale. European automakers struggling to compete. Legacy European automakers, including BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Renault, are facing an uphill battle in the EV market. These companies have long histories and brand equity, but they are slow to abandon their traditional combustion engine models. Transitioning an entire manufacturing ecosystem to electric requires enormous investment, workforce retraining, and supply chain overhauls, challenges that are both technical and cultural. While some brands have launched impressive EVs, they often come with high price tags and limited availability, reducing their appeal to mass-market consumers. Additionally, software and user interface, the areas where EVs most differ from traditional cars, have proven difficult for many European manufacturers. Their vehicles often lag behind Tesla or Chinese EVs in connectivity, autonomous features, and digital integration. As consumers demand smarter and more affordable EV options, European brands risk falling behind if they cannot adapt quickly enough. Supply chain vulnerabilities. Europe's EV supply chain remains one of its biggest vulnerabilities. The continent lacks sufficient domestic production of critical materials such as lithium, cobalt, and rare earth metals. Instead, it depends heavily on imports, primarily from China and Africa. This dependence creates exposure to geopolitical tensions, trade restrictions, and price fluctuations. While the EU is trying to boost domestic mining and battery production through the European Battery Alliance and other initiatives, these efforts are still in the early stages. Establishing sustainable and scalable supply chains will take years, and in the meantime, European automakers remain at a disadvantage. China, by contrast, has been investing in mining operations globally for over a decade, securing long-term contracts and building a tightly controlled supply ecosystem. If Europe fails to secure its own materials pipeline soon, it could find itself permanently reliant on foreign players. High vehicle prices for consumers. Another reason for Europe's lagging EV adoption is the high price of electric cars. While subsidies have helped reduce upfront costs in some countries, many EV models remain significantly more expensive than their gasoline counterparts. The high cost is particularly challenging in countries with lower average incomes, where even with incentives, EVs are out of reach for the average buyer. In contrast, Chinese and American markets are beginning to offer more budget-friendly EV options, opening the door for faster mass adoption. For example, Tesla's Model 3 has dropped in price in the US, and several Chinese brands are launching sub-$25,000 EVs. European automakers have struggled to compete in the affordable segment, focusing instead on luxury or premium EVs. Until more low-cost models hit the European market, adoption rates will remain limited to wealthier consumers and urban elites. Grid limitations and energy concerns. Europe's aging power grid is another barrier to widespread EV adoption. As more electric vehicles hit the roads, the demand for electricity grows, not just in quantity, but in consistency. Many countries still rely heavily on fossil fuels or imported energy, making the power supply both expensive and carbon-intensive. While renewable energy is expanding, it's not keeping pace with the increasing load required by EVs and charging infrastructure. In rural areas especially, the grid may not support multiple fast chargers or high-capacity stations. Additionally, concerns around energy security, especially following geopolitical conflicts, have made some countries hesitant to increase electricity dependence without first modernizing their energy systems. Unless Europe invests more aggressively in grid resilience and renewable energy, the EV dream could clash with hard infrastructure limits. Lack of consumer confidence and education. Beyond the tangible issues of infrastructure and pricing, there's also a psychological hurdle. Many European consumers still lack trust in EVs. Concerns about range anxiety, battery lifespan, charging availability, and maintenance costs persist, especially among older or rural populations. Misinformation and lack of awareness around how EVs function or how much they cost to operate only exacerbate the problem. In regions where EVs are still rare, potential buyers don't have access to real-life comparisons or word-of-mouth experiences. This contrasts sharply with countries like Norway, where strong government messaging and early investments have normalized EV ownership. To boost adoption, European countries need better public education campaigns and incentives that go beyond just financial subsidies. Clear communication around total cost of ownership, environmental impact, and long-term savings is critical to winning consumer trust. Tesla and American influence. Tesla's dominance in the EV market has been a major disruptive force, shaking the foundations of Europe's automotive industry. The American company's aggressive pricing strategy, lightning-fast innovation cycles, and direct-to-consumer sales model have challenged the very core of how European carmakers operate. Unlike traditional automakers, Tesla bypasses dealerships entirely, streamlining both customer experience and profit margins. European companies, many of which are deeply entangled in legacy dealership systems and slower product development pipelines, have found themselves lagging behind. Tesla's Gigafactory Berlin, situated in Germany, the heartland of Europe's car industry, has only intensified this competition. With local production, Tesla has drastically reduced logistics costs and increased market responsiveness. The pressure doesn't stop there. Ford and General Motors, two other American giants, are also gaining traction, preparing to flood Europe with a fresh wave of stylish and competitively priced EVs. This surge of innovation from across the Atlantic has forced European automakers into a reactive stance. Some have had to rush EV projects, leading to questionable build quality or reduced profit margins. Others struggle with software integration and battery supply chains. If European automakers fail to adapt quickly and efficiently, they don't just risk losing their dominance at home, they may become irrelevant in the global auto market altogether. The way forward. Europe is not without hope, but the clock is ticking. To catch up in the EV revolution, the continent must take bold, coordinated action. Governments need to standardize incentives and make infrastructure development a top priority. Automakers must accelerate their innovation pipelines and focus more on affordability and software. Europe also needs to invest in education to shift public perception and make EVs more relatable to the average citizen. Strengthening domestic supply chains and energy infrastructure is equally important. The EV revolution is not just about cars, it's about ecosystems, from battery production to grid resilience and digital integration. If Europe wants to regain its leadership role, it must stop reacting and start leading. The EV market of the future will not wait for slow movers. It rewards those who innovate, scale, and adapt. And right now, Europe has a lot of catching up to do. Thanks you guys for watching. If you want more videos like these, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on our upcoming videos. See you next time.